Hello and welcome to week 3, Amazing Rock Stars. I hope that your week of body scans every single day went well, or at least maybe you got in 2 or 3, and that is still awesome. And for those who did it every single day, high five. So proud of you. So let's start off, as we always will, with a 3-minute breathing exercise. So I'd like you to get into a comfortable seated or laying position, closing your eyes, bringing your attention to your breath. That beautiful rhythm, that in and out, not changing anything, letting those beautiful belly breaths go in and out. Bringing your awareness to your toes and your feet, and maybe taking a moment to extend some gratitude to your feet for holding you up, for being your base and your root, your strong foundation, from walking to wearing uncomfortable shoes. Thank you, feet. Bringing your awareness up to your calves, to your knees. Thank you, knees, for crawling on the floor and chasing after small humans. Thank you, knees, for gardening, for walking and hiking or playing basketball. Up through your thighs, to your hips, to your buttocks. Thank you for sitting so much. And hips and pelvis, and up through your stomach, a place where much occurs, from digestion to experiencing stress and anxiety. As I've said before, our gut has much to tell us. Moving up to your heart and to your lungs, feeling that beautiful expansion of your intercostal muscles with your rib cage, that in and out, up to your shoulders and down through your arms. I think I might have forgotten your arms before, so I'm sorry, arms. And thank you, arms, for holding things and opening doors and holding pens and pencils, for typing, for texting. Thank you, arms and fingers and hands. And now coming back up through your neck into your jaw. Thank you for chewing, for helping me talk. The jaw does so many wonderful things. That tongue and your lips. And now through your nose, to your eyes and your ears, to your forehead, to the very top of your head, and seeing if you can visualize a beautiful light either coming in or going out at the very top of your head. And having that light come through and channel down towards your toes, spreading throughout your body a beautiful, nice warmth. And now, bringing your attention back to the breath and gently opening your eyes. I never know where it's going to take us. It's whatever I'm thinking or feeling in the moment with that 3-minute breathing exercise, but it's really to try and help you realize that there is no right or wrong, that you can go anywhere with it, that visualizations can range from light to feelings of warmth or cold, that you can focus on the body scan, or you can bring in loving kindness, or you can incorporate all of them into one very short 3-minute breathing exercise. So, last week you were starting to tune into the physical body through your body scan meditation. And for some of you, this will have been a wonderfully moving and powerful experience, and for others, you're like, that was painful. And one of the stories I always like to share is when I started the mindfulness-based stress reduction course 8 years ago. One of the participants in the room, after we did our first 45-minute body scan together, she gained awareness of the tightness and constriction that she felt in her chest. And she had never fully appreciated or realized that that was going on for her. And so when she tuned into that, she was startled. She couldn't believe that this had been going on and that she'd not had awareness about it before. And it made her want to flee. And so what she was having was a classic stress response, right? So that fight, flight, or freeze response. And kudos to her for staying, not fleeing, and also for sticking out for the entire 8-week program. It was a huge challenge for her, but I think I like to share this story to normalize with people that whatever sensation you're having, it's completely normal. And so if it is feelings of discomfort or perhaps even panic, that, wow, that's not that nice to experience, and I don't want anyone to experience that, it's a completely normal reaction to doing something that perhaps you've never done before. And so today we're going to expand on your experiences around tuning into the physical body. And we're going to do it through 3 slightly different lenses. We're going to be talking about chakras. We're going to be talking about the gut-brain connection. And then we're also going to be talking about exercise. And so they seem sort of disconnected and kind of odd, but they're all grounded in the physical body. And the reason I wanted to bring 3 very different ideas or concepts together about how we can benefit our physical body and that we can start to understand it is that it's not a one-size-fits-all approach. Some of the things I share are going to resonate with some and not with others. So I thought, hey, why don't we explore 3 different ways about tuning into the physical body? Before we begin, I want to ask the question, how many times in the last week have you listened, truly listened to what your body needs? Use your journal or the guide that we have for you. Pause the video if you need to. Do you even know what I mean when I'm saying, have you listened to your body? You're going, what do you mean? Have I listened to my body? And I want to make a distinction between the mind and the body, because as we've talked about, the mind can run you around some fairly incessant and inaccurate tracks about who you are and what you need. It's not necessarily about what the mind's telling you to hit snooze again, or to have another piece of cake, or dear God, not another meditation. Sometimes, though, this is the challenging part, what our mind is telling us that we need actually does align with what our body is telling us. But a lot of times there's a huge disconnect. Like, I'm really tired, but I'll watch another episode of Queer Eye on Netflix with my husband because I don't get time with him very often. And of course, I'm using a very personal example. But really what my body was telling me that I needed was to go to bed. So there's often a disconnect between what our body is telling us and what we actually do. Another example, and we'll touch on boundaries a little bit, is in the workplace. Going to a team build or an event that you don't want to go to. How can we start to build the capacity to recognize and acknowledge the fact that there are some things in life that we don't want to do and that we actually don't have to do? And that it's really okay to honor and acknowledge that and to put up some really strong and beautiful boundaries. So this is what I mean when I talk about the disconnect between what our mind is telling us to do and what our body actually needs. So today, through the 3 different lenses, I'm hoping that we can start to build in and bring some body awareness for us to help us to better listen to what our body actually needs. So chakras. There are 7 chakras in the body. And basically, what they are considered to be is energy centers where we receive, process, and transmit information. And they actually do reside on areas where there's a high volume of nerves and information that's coming from nerves, from our skin, to our spinal cord, to our brain. So as I said, we have 7 chakras, and today we're going to spend most of our time talking about the root chakra, because when that is out of balance, it really does impact the chakras throughout the rest of our body. And yes, there is interplay between those. So if my heart chakra is off, it could impact and influence my root chakra. But I think it's really important that we have a groundedness, which is what our base or root chakra or Muladhara helps us to do. So we're going to come back to that, but I just want to walk you through the other 6. So we have our root chakra, the very base with our tailbone. We have our sacral chakra, which covers most of our sacral spine. We have our solar plexus, which encompasses the majority of our stomach. We then move up to our heart chakra, all right? That's something that maybe when you've gone to a yoga class, you have some movements like this, okay? That's helping to bring energy in and away from your heart chakra. We have our throat chakra, our third eye chakra, and then our crown chakra. And these are the other 6 to total 7 chakras that we have within our body. So our base chakra, our root chakra, when that is out of alignment, we may feel or experience anger, rage, sleeplessness, fatigue. And so those are some of the things that I profoundly experienced when I was on both of my maternity leaves. And so this one's very relevant for me, but it's also relevant for all of us to have a groundedness and stability with this. And so what are ways in which we can create that stability is to ensure that we feel physically safe in the place that we are. So whether that's in our home or our bedroom or our office, it's finding feelings of safety in our physical worlds. Now, our feelings of safety as an adult may actually be predicated on our lack of feelings of safety as a child. And so if you went through traumatic experiences as a child that left you feeling unsafe, those may still be rearing, it may be something that you're still experiencing as an adult. And while our time together isn't going to provide you with the tools and resources to tap into that, if that's something for you that you are experiencing, that you're not sure, why do I still feel unsafe, even though physically everything is looked after, that may be something that you want to explore with a medical professional. There are other ways to ground into our root chakra, which is contact with the physical environment. So getting outdoors, putting your feet on the ground, digging in the dirt. And so if you do live in a climate that has winter, which I do, getting my feet on the ground, it doesn't feel all that appealing right now, if I'm being really honest. But it is something that I do in the summertime, is get my bare feet out on the grass, garden, soil in the hands in the dirt, no gardening gloves, and that's wonderful for your immune system as well, just as an FYI. And so and spending time in nature is a wonderfully grounding exercise. So just even getting out for a walk has some very significant benefits for your mental well-being. And the last thing kind of ties into the walking piece is making sure that you are having that physical activity. Physical activity at its core, and we'll touch on it a little bit later in today's session, but physical activity helps us to bring a sense of groundedness to where we are at in space and time, because we are feeling our body in the moment that we are in. So this is a really high-level overview of chakras. If this speaks to you or resonates with you and you want to learn more, there is a plethora of information online, especially through Deepak Chopra's website. And I really encourage you to explore it more, because it's really interesting to uncover what does it look like if my heart chakra is out of balance? And then what are some of the things that I could do to help bring it more into balance? And it's not only through activities, it can be through the foods you eat, through the people you surround yourself with. And so it's a very interesting view and exploration of the physical body and bringing awareness to it. So the second one that we're going to tune into is the gut, and that gut-brain connection. And I could again spend an entire session / 5 more sessions on the microbiome. But basically the research now that's coming out around the gut is a second brain. It actually does release its own neurotransmitters like serotonin. And it's not only that the brain is transmitting information to the gut. Okay, so when we feel stressed or anxious, sometimes we get butterflies or upset stomach, and that's that connection through the vagus nerve. It's now, the research is demonstrating very clearly that we have the gut is speaking to the brain, and so that it's producing its own neurotransmitters, and that the health of our microbiome, okay, and so that's where you're hearing perhaps now a lot more around probiotics and prebiotics and the food that we're eating, that also deeply impacts our mood and our psychological health. So again, I don't want to get into so much of the rabbit hole, but I think it's to bring awareness that what we're putting into our body is also going to be not only nourishing our physical self, okay, helping our cells to function, helping our muscles to contract, helping us to survive, but it's also nourishing our mind. So if you haven't ever paid attention to how you feel after certain foods, I highly encourage you to start monitoring that. Maybe it's in the journal that you have for this course. We do have some questions and prompts within the guide. And we are going to create and include a handout on some of the foods that you may want to up if they aren't already up within your diet. So those are those healthy fats and omegas, and in amongst many more. Recently for me, I've gone through and done the Whole30 experience. And so if that's not something you've heard about, it's basically is an elimination diet of sorts. And while it has its own challenges, as any elimination diet does, it was incredibly powerful for me and has helped to address a lot of the gut issues that I was having before. So if this is a space of interest for you, there's a lot of work around inflammation, Whole30, the microbiome, and we've included some links for you here. But start really paying attention to what you eat and drink, whether coffee, alcohol, teas, juices, and then foods from sugars, dairies, grains, and how those impact you and how they make you feel, whether it's more alert or sluggish. Lastly, I want to touch on, of course, physical exercise. This is near and dear to my heart. My training is in exercise physiology and in psychology, but I've always appreciated the strong interplay between how physical we are and how we move our bodies and how that impacts our mind. But that when we are physically active, we're doing a number of really cool things. So oftentimes when people turn to physical activity, it's as a weight loss modality. And while it can be effective, weight loss is sadly mostly going to be determined by your diet. It's a 70-30 split. So 30% is attributed to how physically active you are. That doesn't mean that you shouldn't do physical activity. There are a ton of benefits that are happening below the surface that it creates for you. So that high intensity exercise, so that's when it's really hard for you to talk. That is what we call anaerobic exercise versus aerobic. And the beauty of this is that it's actually impacting your stress threshold. So your ability to handle and manage stress increases as you exercise in an anaerobic fashion. And that's because exercise is a stress. It's a stress on your body. Like, we're really programmed to try and conserve our energy. And so when we exercise, it is a stress at a cellular level. You can feel it at your heart level. You can feel it in your cardiovascular system. You can feel it in your ventilation. And what that does, though, long term, is it actually improves our ability to withstand stress on a day-to-day basis. So that's the first thing that exercise does. Well, not the first thing, but the first thing I'm talking about. And the second thing, or the second and third thing that exercise does in terms of its helpfulness for our physical body, but it actually, what is released is something, so your heart, when it's being worked, releases something called atrial natriuretic peptide, ANP. And I hope I've got the pronunciation right. And if I don't, tell me, okay? What that does is it actually sends information to your brain, or your HPA axis, which is your hypothalamus, your pituitary, and your adrenal axis, which is your stress pathway. And it sends a signal to it to help it calm down. So it's helping to lower cortisol. So by exercising and actually increasing stress and increasing cortisol to a certain level, releases something from your heart talking to your brain, to help then calm that pathway in a more helpful, long-term, successful way. And the last thing that physical exercise does for us is that it makes us feel. At its most simple way, it helps us to feel our bodies in the space and the moment that we're in. And I talked a little bit about that when we're helping to ground and tune into our root chakra. So I think that's something at its base form, whether you're walking, whether you're gardening, because physical activity doesn't have to be only boxing or high intensity exercise to be beneficial. It makes us feel, and it makes us tune in and connect with our body. And that's really the point and the intention around today's session is, what are the various, and there's many different ways that you can connect in and tune into your physical body. So, homework, there always is. This was a bit of a long one, today's session, but I have 2 requests for you for homework this week. 1, lean into mantra. Yes, we have a recording of Lam over and over again, yours truly. And the reason we want this is that we want to tune into the healing powers of sound. There's more and more research coming to light around the powers of vibration and what it does from a healing standpoint for many different physical conditions. This may seem very woo-woo to you, but I'm super excited that this is starting to really show up in the scientific research. And secondly, how can you bring physical movement into your day-to-day? So, can you maybe 3 times over the course of next week get out for a walk or a run? No earbuds, no distractions, but doing a silent walking or running meditation. Perhaps maybe it's even bringing it into yoga. Yoga is a wonderful practice to do it. And while I am very challenged in the yoga space, trust me, do not let this mat fool you. I do it, but I'm not very good at it. It's a wonderful way to bring together physical movement and mindfulness and meditative practice. So good luck. You've got this.